Hello, everybody out there in Brandyland. This is Brandykins, and I am in a bit of a dark mood today because I'm wearing a black shirt and pants. The last vlog was about the history of the zombie narrative, and today's vlog is going to be a continuation of the question that I asked last time. Why are zombie narratives and zombie films relevant? The first reason why zombie narratives and films are relevant and important to popular culture is because they serve as a form of social commentary. You may have heard the term social commentary thrown around. Well, what exactly is it? Well, social commentary is the act of using rhetorical means to provide commentary on issues in a society. This is often done with the idea of implementing or promoting change by informing the general populace about a given problem and appealing to people's sense of justice. Social commentary can be practiced through all forms of communication, from printed form to conversations to computerized communication. So basically, social commentary, a long story short, is used to, it's any kind of artwork, whether it's a photograph, whether it's a painting, whether it's a fiction or a nonfiction piece. It's any kind of art used to comment on issues in society. And you could find social commentary in pretty much anything when it comes to fiction. For instance, George Orwell's Animal Farm. George Orwell's Animal Farm was a direct criticism and social commentary on what he deemed as the absurdity of communist rule. He is making a parody of communism by making the pigs attempt to establish a totalitarian rule. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. But you may be thinking, ugh, zombies. Zombies are just these gross things. They're not as sophisticated or as classy as, say, Dracula or Frankenstein. And on that point, look-wise, I guess, yeah, if you want to compare, say, the way a zombie looks to the way Dracula looks, then, yeah, no contest. Dracula would be better looking every time. Things like monsters like Dracula and Frankenstein seem to be given a little bit more credit in popular culture and are seen as having more value. I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but it will lead me back to the point as to why zombie narratives and films are relevant, because they serve as social commentary. I'll get back to that point here in just a minute. And this is not me saying that Dracula and Frankenstein aren't important in popular culture. They are. Dracula is still used as the template for many vampire narratives today, and itself serves as a form of social commentary. And according to an article called Her Midnight Pillow, written by Magasco states that Frankenstein makes a cultural impact that still reverberates even now, almost 200 years later. And both Dracula and Frankenstein's monster, because, Frankenstein is not the name of the monster. Victor Frankenstein, that's the mad scientist's name. Frankenstein's monster, or, the modern Prometheus, as he's called, that's the name of the monster. Anyway, these two monsters are both still very highly recognized in popular culture today. In an article titled "The Psychological Appeal of Movie Monsters" in the Journal of Media Psychology, It states that Dracula is the #1 most recognized monster, like pop culture wise, according to a survey. And it also states that Frankenstein's monster is 4th on the list of the top 25 most recognized monsters. Dracula and Frankenstein were even acceptable to use in comics during a time when the Comics Code Authority was in effect. But wait a minute, Brandy. You mentioned the Comics Code of Authority in the last vlog, did you not? Well, by golly, yes I did. And you may be wondering, whoa, okay, Brandy, wait a minute. Zombies were not okay to use during the time of the Comics Code Authority, but Dracula and Frankenstein were? Okay, so let me stop you right there for a second. Congress held a bunch of hearings in around April and June of 1954, which led to the Comics Code Authority being established. Yeah. It was basically a big list of don'ts that comic publishers had to follow for their comics to even be published. According to the Comics Code Authority of 1954, it stated the following things in relation to horror, to anything having to deal with zombies and vampires and other creatures. In regards to horror, the 1954 Comics Code Authority stated that no comic magazine shall use the words horror or terror in its title. As far as what the Comics Code Authority said about monsters, it stated that scenes dealing with or instruments associated with Walking Dead, torture, vampires and vampirism, ghouls, cannibalism, and werewolfism are prohibited. The Comics Code Authority was updated several times during the year of 1971, and one of the major updates was that Dracula and Frankenstein were considered a-okay to use as long as they were handled in the classic literary tradition, meaning that the way that Bram Stoker wrote Dracula and the way that Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, that was okay to use. Zombies had no established literary tradition, and thus they were considered taboo. And you could just as easily be like, nah, I want to just discuss Dracula and Frankenstein. I mean, there's more to them. There's nothing to zombies. Dracula and Frankenstein are more relevant to today's popular culture. You could argue that, yes, you could use Dracula and Frankenstein to try and draw comparisons between society then and society now. But the point of popular culture is to use it to investigate culture as it stands, social commentary as it stands right now. And that is where zombies come in. And this is why they are so important to investigating 21st century popular culture. Zombie narratives in film give us direct access to social commentary of the 20th and 21st century, and can point out and draw attention to issues like racism, classism, religion, technology, government, and medicine. A great example of a zombie narrative that adheres to 21st century social commentary is World War Z by Max Brooks, written by the same guy who wrote the Zombie Survival Guide, as you heard me briefly mention in the last video. And World War Z is full of social commentary on the issues that I have just mentioned. For example, it delves into the issue of racism versus classism. On page 160, one of the characters is talking about his thoughts about racism and classism. Yes, there was racism, but there was also classism. For some, this was scarier than the living dead. Once on a fact-finding tour through LA, I sat in the back of a re-education lecture. The trainees had all held lofty positions in the entertainment industry. I could understand their resistance, their arrogance. Before the war, entertainment had been the most valued export of the United States. Now they're being trained as custodians for a munitions plant in Bakersfield, California. World War Z also gives a direct critique about Americans' overdependence on technology. One of the characters states this and directly criticizes this on page 160. The character states, Americans worship technology. It's an inherent trait in the national zeitgeist. Whether we realize it or not, even the most indefatigable Luddite can't deny our country's techno prowess. We split the atom. We reached the moon. We filled every household and business with more gadgets and gizmos than early sci-fi writers could have ever dreamed of. I don't know if that's a good thing. I'm in no place to judge. But I do know that just like all those ex-atheists in foxholes, most Americans were still praying for the God of science to save them. Okay. There are so many more different examples of social commentary in World War Z, and I highly recommend that you read that book. But just from those two passages, the one about racism and classism, and the one about Americans and their overdependence on technology and science, it could get you thinking about and discussing such things as, would divisions of rich, middle class, and poor even be relevant in a society like this? Are they even relevant in society today? And if so, where are class divisions considered important? Or in terms of technology, you get to thinking about, okay, what did Max Brooks mean exactly by the God of science? Do you agree with the notion that Americans worship technology? And if so, how do we, as Max Brooks says, how do we worship technology? I haven't mentioned much about zombies in film, but a good example of social commentary as far as what I can think of right now is a show that is on AMC. You may all know it as The Walking Dead. How the main critique is that we were just so caught up in our lives and all this, I guess, essentially crap that we felt like we didn't need, that it took this gigantic apocalypse to wean us off of our overdependence on just everything and the hustle and bustle of everyday life. For the tagline is, in a world ruled by the dead, we are forced to finally start living. So a commentary as to, well, the world is shit now, but were we really living when it came to us in the world before the apocalypse happened? Social commentary in zombie narratives in film and TV, it can get us thinking, in a sense, about how to be agents of social change. And one way that social change is affected is through the government. Across all zombie narratives, there's one common thread. There is the collapse of our political and governmental infrastructure. And if you think about it, as this quote says, inherently, horror is political. It explores the fissures that open up in our everyday lives and destabilizes our complacency about norms and rules. Some researchers do not believe that zombie narratives and films need any kind of social commentary or any kind of commentary about politics or the government, and that zombie narratives delving into politics is burdensome, as if zombie texts should stick to providing increasingly graphic in hyperreal scenes of exploding and disemboweling bodies, as if that's all that they were meant to do. And our government even used zombies as a way to get trainees and getting people thinking outside the box. On the History.com website, in an article titled, "Are You Prepared for a Zombie Apocalypse? The U.S. Government Is." The first paragraph says that the U.S. may have one of the largest armies on Earth, but even the Pentagon is taking no chances at being caught off guard by an unusual foe. In fact, in 2011, the U.S. Department of Defense released a strategy to combat a potential zombie apocalypse. While the potential opponents might be fictional, the military took it seriously. In fact, the first line of the Counter-Zombie Dominance Plan, or COMPLAN 8888-11 states, "This plan was not actually designed as a joke." The origins of the plan can be traced to training exercises held in 2009 and 2010, during which young officers participating in the Joint Operation Planning and Execution System realized the potential upsides to planning for a hypothetical zombie attack. With roving zombies as a target in these fake scenarios, rather than enemies in real-life potential hotspots like Tunisia or Nigeria, there was a much smaller risk of the plan being taken seriously or ruffling diplomatic feathers. And the fantastical idea of battling zombies helped newcomers think outside the box when it came to devising creative strategies and tactics. As the Pentagon notes, "Our intent was to place this tool into the wild so that others who were interested in finding new and innovative ways to train planners could have an alternative and admittedly unconventional tool at their disposal that could be modified and updated over time." Side note, I would look into this, I would read this. This plan is so fascinating. Also, the Center for Disease Control has a website about Preparedness 101, how to prepare for emergencies, like for example, the zombie apocalypse. They used the zombie apocalypse, the hypothetical zombie apocalypse, to educate people on how to prepare for an eventual disaster, just like the disasters that you can experience, like floods, tornadoes, etc. For example, they said to make an emergency kit that includes water, food, medication, tools and supplies, sanitation and hygiene products, clothing and bedding, important documents like your birth certificate or driver's license, and first aid supplies. Because the idea is better safe than sorry, have an emergency plan. See, even the government is using zombies. The government is using zombies, and I think it's fucking awesome. But anyway, zombie narratives in films and zombies on TV can be used as social commentary, as I said before, and ways to get us thinking about how to initiate social change, or get us thinking about the what if scenarios. What if our government, our political infrastructure, what if they all collapsed? What would they do? I mean, or what would we do as a society? How would we get ourselves back up and running again? Well, World War Z had a bit of a commentary about that as well. World War Z uses zombies and their gruesomeness to compare it with, like, and take what we're used to, the world that we're used to, and get rid of all the norms and rules, and in a sense, deterritorialize us. Deterritorialization is a literary concept where basically we have a world that we are used to, and then something plot-wise happens and comes along and destabilizes us, deterritorializes us, kind of like jerks us out of what we know and what we're comfortable with, and plops us into this really weird, kind of unfamiliar situation. And then we got to figure out how to re-territorialize ourselves or get ourselves back to some form of normal. Now, I can do a video about the concept of deterritorialization in World War Z. If you want to see me do a video like that, comment in the comments below. So, how did World War Z kind of re-territorialize itself or try to establish new norms and rules? Well, it did that by something called the Redeker Plan. The Redeker Plan outlined that the strong people, those with high IQs, high physical strength, good health, and fertility, all live together in what is called the safe zone, while the weak people, or the people that were considered weak, people with low IQs, people with illnesses or disabilities or any kind, people who are infertile, the weak people would live in the abandoned zones so that they would attract zombies. They would be the ones to attract zombies and keep people in the safe zone safe. And that could get you thinking about all sorts of things like, oh my God, why would we as a society want to sacrifice innocent people or those we deem unworthy to nasty ass zombies? Why? So there's all sorts of interesting things to think about, and the reason why zombie narratives and films are valuable in terms of popular culture and just in general, it's because they offer social commentary. So much interesting things to think about, or so many interesting things to think about. So what did you think? What other zombie books, films, TV, graphic novels, comics, what other narratives of any kind offer social commentary? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you dislike the video, please give it a thumbs down, but also tell me why. I'm the person that likes more detail other than just LOL, you suck. You could tell me that I suck, but give me a detailed reason as to why I suck, I guess. And you could find me, the other places that you can find me on the interwebs are below in the description box below the video. So to all of you out there in Brandyland, the Brandy Bunch, take care, have a great day, evening, night, and